Hello everybody, welcome back to TTL. Round number 2 brings us to the Chinese Grand Prix. My name is Kieran McGinley and today we're going to be focusing on the second round of Season 8 of TTL. Now obviously I'm afraid I wasn't there for the season opener in Australia, but I can show you the driver standings. Now it's only one page this time around because of course there's only been one round and only 10 people have scored points. Blizzard went out there to take his race win on his debut. Darren Sinclair there finished second, he's on 18 in the Toro Rosso. Spike is third on 15 points, Raikkonen fourth on 12. Traw is in fifth on 10, Useless is in sixth on 8, Steph in seventh on 6 points, Humbug in 8th on 4 points, Light in 9th with 2 points and Maze in 10th on a single point. Now then we'll look on to the Constructors' Championship, and as you can see, Blizzard's win means that Williams are at the top of the table. Renault are there in second with 21 points. Toro Rosso third thanks to Darren Sinclair's second place. McLaren in fourth there on 14 points. Red Bull in fifth on 12. Sauber in sixth on 8 points. Force India seventh with 2 points. Mercedes in 8th on 1, and Ferrari and Haas are yet to score this season. So without further ado then, off this really short intro, we'll go on to the hot lap.
So here we are then, starting a lap here at the Chinese Grand Prix, heading into turn number 1 now. Keep it as far to the left hand side as possible as you go through the right hander that tightens as it goes around, just tightens ever more as you risk understeer heading into turn 2. Then into turn 3, it's okay to sacrifice your exit on turn 2 there, get the exit of turn 3 and turn 4 absolutely spot on. The back end loves to step out there. Into the slight kink of 5, make sure you keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. Braking hard now into turn 6, into the hairpin, easy to lock up there, get the exit of 6 absolutely right as well. Next up you've got the S's section of 7 and 8, keep to the right hand side, shut the car in into turn number 7 and then drop her 2 gears coming into turn number 8, maybe even drop another gear if it gets the tyre wear gets that bad. Into turn 9, try to avoid the curves wherever possible, it affects traction as you head through turn 10 now. Now it's onto a little straight as we head towards turn number 11, the 90-degree left-hander, as you need to get this exit right into turn number 12 now, which seems to go on forever as we head now into turn 13. The car always wanting to understeer as we head around here. Onto this then kilometre-long back straight. DRS comes around about a quarter of the way down. There it is. On it goes, and we head now all the way down to turn 14. Fantastic overtaking opportunity here as you brake just before the 100-metre board as you turn the car in. Easy to lock up, slight kink here of 15. Make sure you get the exit right, keep the eye on the traction here. Turn 16, very easy to cut the corner and invalidate your lap time as keep an eye on that curve as you head towards the start finish line. That's a lap of Shanghai. Now it's on to qualifying.
So then, round 2 of the Season 8 of TTL brings us to China. 5 wins from Mercedes, 4 wins from Ferrari, 3 wins from McLaren. In its short time on the calendar, only 3 constructors have ever won here in China. And the person with the most wins, Lewis Hamilton. He had 5 wins, including the win in 2017 that brought him up to his 5th tally. And the only other 2 drivers to have multiple wins here were Fernando Alonso and Nico Rosberg. And the rest, well, a fabled list including Michael Schumacher's last ever win in Formula 1 in 2006. What about Kimi Raikkonen with Ferrari on his way towards his first and only championship? As far, obviously he might have 1 or 2 seasons left under his belt in Formula 1, and we'll see what happens. Meanwhile then, Plaster, as he normally is the first person out on track. And with the clouds bearing over it, looks like rain's on the way, because look at how many people are now heading out onto the track. We see Plaster here heading towards and out onto the lap here. We've got Steph here in the Renault, just letting some of the drivers through there. Sao Paulo here in the Force India, the number 37 car, heading through the S section here. It's always very difficult to get that right. Car really wants to understeer going through here. Darren Sinclair trying to lead a title challenge. He has got Blizzard ahead of him in the championship here in the Williams, and won it on his debut. Can he repeat that feat here? Can he keep up the challenge with Darren Sinclair? We've also got the Gort out there as well in the Ferrari. Ferrari have not scored just yet this season, but they will. they will hopefully get some points on the board this weekend in the hands of the Gort here today in China, as we see a Renault there, the ghost of a Sauber reappearing, and then the Gort coming onto the back straight. Not quite the back straight, obviously, that 1 kilometre plus long back straight as the Gort's coming onto it now. We'll have a look on board with Blaster here, as he's the first person to set a lap time. He will be number 24 Red Bull here, looking to try and head through turn number 1 and 2 there. Long right-hander turn 2. Turns 3 and 4 very easy to oversteer and lose the back end as we now head towards it through the slight kink of 5 and then into turn 6, this sort of hairpin section, as you've got to get the traction here as well. Now, China and Malaysia used to follow each other. Now Malaysia's towards the back end of the calendar, but both of them have this long stretching S section through turn 7 and 8 and then through turn 9. Very easy to lock up going through turn 9 as well, and very difficult to get that bit absolutely spot on. As we head out of turn 10, we head towards turn 11 here. And the left-hander, 90-degree left-hander into turn 12, and the resulting corner of turn 13 is this long right-hander. The car loves to understeer if you haven't got the right setup, as we head down this long kilometre-long back straight. Perfect range for DRS overtakes if you really need them. And we'll see here from Plaster if we can get another view from the broadcast camera. That'd be nice. Heading into turn 14 and then a slight kink of 15. Yep, that counts as a corner. And then heading towards turn 16, Plaster will be the first person to set a lap time, and the lap time he sets as he comes towards the start-finish line is a 1:35.1. We'll have a look at Blizzard as Sao Paulo sets a 1:33.1. Darren Sinclair on his lap time, he was coming towards the line to apparently start his out lap. I always love it when I get that wrong. As we'll see the championship lead Blizzard lose the back end, and well, that's a lap abandoned there. We'll have us look at the Gort if we can, as the Gort now heading through turn 16. He's got a car ahead of him, but I'm not quite sure who it is. Be careful not to run wide too much. Useless, I think it was posting a lap time. But the Gort sets a 1:33.5, as Light sets a 1:33.4. We have Sao Paulo there setting a 1:33.1, as Spike is at the top of the table with a 1:32.7. Good lap time from him. We've got a little piece there as well on the soft tyre, 1:34.7. Blaster there in 9th, dropping all the way down. Alan Kay now down to 11th as Raikkonen sets a lap time of 7th. Goes 1:34.1. As we'll now try and ride on board with someone who's close to the end of the lap. Darren Sinclair and CG seem to be on each other's tails, but CG will be able to set a lap first of all, as going down the back straight in that McLaren, and I wonder what sort of time he'll be able to post, as we'll switch on the telemetry and everything because we're missing it right now. Heading into the hairpin of turn 14, the slight kink of 15, very easy to lose the back end once again, and hopefully the drivers will have put the ballast far forward. There's a lovely camera angle there through turn 16 now. As we head towards the line now with CG, he goes 4th, and in the background Darren Sinclair, what can he do? He goes 2nd on a 1:32.7 and not far away from Spike at all. And well, we've got to wait for the second round of drivers. We'll have a see if Steph is on the lap as well, as Steph is coming into the pits, as is Raikkonen. Sometimes the soft runners like to do a more than one lap to try and see what sort of lap times they'll be setting. Little piece then heading towards the pits, as Alan Kay will, well, he's got DRS open, so he might be pushing here. Alan Kay is down in 13th place at the moment, and maybe with rain on the way, he might want to no, forget that then. Alan Kay into the pits, as Blizzard, Weed Nation, Crazy and Maze all yet to set a lap time today in this session. So then to go through some of the drivers then, Spike leading the way then on a 1:32.7. Darren Sinclair's in 2nd, not very far behind at all. We missed Geordie there. He set a 1:33.333, using all the threes there possible to go 4th place. CG put in 5th. Light there is in 6th. Gort is in 7th. Steph there in 8th place on the soft tyre, as is Raikkonen on the soft tyre. He's on he's in 9th place. And then we have Useless in 10th, Little Piece in 11th, Plaster 12th, and Alan K 13th, with Maze coming out onto the circuit now, and I believe that is Weed Nation not far behind. As we see 2 engineers there heading towards the end of the pit lane as a Force India and a Williams leaves. That's Weed Nation, and I believe also that is going to be Crazy Legs, or is it Blizzard? It's Blizzard, as Crazy Legs still has not left the pit lane. He's leaving it very, very late then, as we'll see Maze here heading out. I believe it was Weed Nation. Was that not Weed Nation heading out of the pits? No, it wasn't. It was Light and Blizzard. That's who it was heading out there. So Light then going very early on in this run to try and set another lap time. He just wants that clear air in the number 4 Force India. And we'll see now, Weed Nation and Crazy still not coming out of the pits just yet, as we see a Red Bull leaving the pit lane. And you do wonder when they're going to make their appearance. Useless there in the Sauber, heading onto his lap here. As Spike leaves the pit lane now, he's on his charge now to try and keep a hold of his time at the top there. We'll have a look at Blizzard here, who current championship leader right now after round 1, and he's heading into turn 11 and through turn 12 now, just trying to get himself as much clear air as possible to set his lap time on. We've also got Maze here as well. He's on his lap right now, and as you can see here, we'll have a look on board with Maze. He's going to be the first person to set a lap time in his second stint, even though he hasn't set a lap time just yet. And we'll see what Maze can do. He currently lies with only 1 point after round 1, and knowing Maze, he'll be wanting to change that. That's for sure. As we see now, Maze heading through turn, I believe that's turn 9 now, into turn 10. Just make sure you keep that back end in check as we head down towards this turn 11, 90-degree left-hander. Good opportunity for overtaking if you get the exit of turn 10 right. Then through turn 12, the right-hander again, testing the car's limits of grip as you go up through the gears. Onto the back straight here, you can see the massive DRS signs which give you that boost of speed as you head down towards the hairpin of turn 14. You'll see the speed increase there up to 207 miles an hour. Will Maze reach? No, 206 as you brake now down towards 40 miles an hour. The sheer velocity you lose there with the brakes is amazing, as now Maze heads around the final corner. Very easy to cut the corner there, as Maze then goes third with a 132.9. We'll have a look at Blizzard then as he's on his lap. Light here was the next person to set a lap time. I believe it was. I could be wrong. Just looking for drivers who are on a lap right now. And we'll see who can have a go here. Spike is on a lap time as well. But Light is heading towards the start-finish line. Can he improve on 7th place? As Crazy and Weed Nation have not left the pits. So then, Light then heading towards the start-finish line, and he goes top, 132.7, 200ths of a second faster than Spike. Spike has got to respond to that, surely. As we'll have a look at any other drivers. Darren Sinclair here going to finish up his outlap. Sao Paulo is a 1/10 up through the first sector as Blizzard retires from the session. He is done for the day. He must have made a mistake or something like that, and he has decided not to pursue that. Spike then heading into turn 14, locks up a bit there as he heads around turn 15 and through to 16 now. Can he improve on his time? Runs slightly wide into the DRS zone now, doesn't open DRS. He goes quicker, but no dice. Maybe he was on an outlap after all. Darren Sinclair then definitely on a lap. Maze is also on a lap, but he'll be heading towards the pit lane. Sao Paulo's out there. Geordie here heading into turn number 11 as CG heads towards the line, but can't improve. Or is that him on his outlap now? It's very confusing, these these graphics sometimes. As Raikkonen retires from the session, as Useless here heading through. He's a 10th down so far. And we'll have a look at Spike here heading through turn 7, 8 here. Darren Sinclair then heading down that back straight. Only 10 seconds to go in the session. You'll see all those checkered flags come out very soon to see who won't be setting a lap time. So Weed Nation and Crazy Legs not setting a lap time during this session. So Maze is done for the day. We'll get to see who can grab pole position. Light at the moment, Geordie has retired from the session. So then Useless retires as well. Light heads back to the pits, but Darren Sinclair here heading towards the line. What can he do? He goes top, 1:32.3. That's incredible. Incredible lap time there from Darren Sinclair. Meanwhile then CG heading around that long turn 12. The Gort heading down the straight now. We've got Little Piece as well on the same straight as Alan Kay heading into the left-hander. Weed Nation was actually not in the session, so he didn't get a chance to set a lap time. Sao Paulo there also on a lap as well. So we'll have a look at CG. The Gort follows him straight behind, and we'll see here. And the Gort finishes on a 1:33.1, puts himself in 8th place. Little Piece jumps up to 11th, and CG can't improve. He finishes 9th. Only 2 more drivers then to set a lap time. That's Sao Paulo and also Alan Kay. As Alan Kay then heading towards the last corner, turn 16. What can he do here? Little Piece only 11th, and Alan Kay moves up to 14th place. So there's only 1 driver left. It's Sao Paulo. He is 0.02 of a second up, and that could be the difference between 4th and 5th place right now. Heads through the last corner into DRS, and he must have cut that last corner because he didn't improve and must have had his lap time invalidated. But Darren Sinclair is your pole position man for the Chinese Grand Prix. And there it is then, confirmation, 0.4 of a second Darren Sinclair managed to pull out. Light there is in 2nd, Spike is in 3rd, Maze in 4th, Sao Paulo 5th, Blizzard is 6th, Geordie 7th, the Gort's in 8th, CG's in 9th, and Steph is in 10th on those soft tyres. Little Piece 11th, Raikkonen 12th, Useless in 13th, Alan Kay 14th, Plaster 15th, Weed Nation 16th, and Crazy Legs, the Season 7 champion, is at the back of the grid. Now it's on to the race after this edit. So tensions here will be high for the second round of TTL season number 8. And it's been in good stead for Mercedes. They are the winning constructors most times, 5 times. And they've won, I think they've won 5 out of the 6. They've won 5 out of the last 6 times they visited the Shanghai circuit. But of course, that means nothing here today, as we're about to head on to the formation laps here, and we'll have a look at who we need to be watching. So then away they go on their formation laps now, as Toro Rosso heads the field, as the Williams there, I believe that's is it Weed Nation? No, it's not, it's Blizzard. So Blizzard didn't get away from the line. He did say he was going to try his wheel during a lap of qualifying, so maybe he's still switching controller. But there we have Darren Sinclair, pole man, as apparently we've got names in the centre of the screen there, but they're gone now. So we'll see here all the tyres. We can have a look. You can see there the top 10 absolutely starting on what they qualified on. Little Piece is opting for the soft tyre here. Raikkonen is opting for the medium tyres. As you can see, it's a little bit hectic here, as Little Piece is disqualified from the formation lap there, maybe making contact. Useless is on soft tyres, Alan Kay is as well, Plaster is, Weed Nation is, and the champion of Season 7 is starting on those medium tyres at the back of the grid. He'll be hoping then to get through the field to start and get some points on the board for this season. So Darren Sinclair then, hot favourite to win it, but Light is not going to take it lightly at all, excuse the pun. He'll be hoping for a good start and to keep his own there through turns 1, 2 and 3. Spike is no stranger to the front of the field. He'll be hoping to try and get away, as will Maze. It's a good qualifying from him as he starts in 4th. Sao Paulo there in 5th. It's a good day for him, and the championship leader Blizzard is down in 6th place. Geordie is in 7th, as we see all the cars there line up. Blizzard now disqualified from the session. Maybe he fell too far behind. As we see CG as well in the McLaren in 9th place. Steph is behind him in the Renault there in 10th place. Look out for Raikkonen. He's 5th in the championship, I believe. Starting 12th today, but he can always pull a result out of the bag when he needs to. Look out for him on those medium tyres as we head towards the latter stage of the race. As we start to get formed up here, we'll have the race after this edit. So then, here we go then for 5 red lights here in China. And round 2 is underway. Let's see what the starts are like. Darren Sinclair looks like he's got a very good start. The Force India doesn't get a good start. Mays there is trying to have a look as they head through now into turn number 1. We'll have a look now, see if we can keep it clean as we head through the first couple of corners. Let's see what happens here. Can they all keep it clean as they head their way through? Let's have a look at some of the onboards there. We've got a bit of debris flying there. And was Crazy involved in that? I'm not sure. Blaster looks like he's falling away back as we'll have a look and see any missing front wings here. Useless is locking up their little piece, keeping it clean just about as Raikkonen pulls himself up into 11th. CG's now up into 10th place as the field is tightly packed there. Looks so far clean at the moment, but we've got to keep an eye on some of the cars out there. The Gort is in 7th place. Maybe struggling with a bit of grip out there as he was going through turns 7 and 8 there. As you can see there, and the field is so tightly packed. We've got the Williams there of Blizzard going up into 5th place as we still see the Gort there in 7th place down Sao Paulo. As my console decides to screw up for a minute there. Wheat Nation then trying to go round the outside of Alan Cade. He's got the move done as we head now down the back straight. You can see there Darren Sinclair out of focus, but all 17 cars are on exactly the same bit of track right now. Darren Sinclair, they're still leading the way as Spike is trying to go down the inside of Mays now. Can he keep that position? Yes, he can, just about, but Mays is not going to make this easy. He's still on the outside as we see here, the little piece moving up, and so is Steph dropping down, as we'll still see here. So Haas running wide there a little piece as we see now. Still the 17 cars are all within the same bit of track. Fantastic start so far, and it's a good bit of driving here as we see trying to work this telemetry board as well as I can. We can see up ahead CG and Steph fighting it out there. They're making a slight bit of contact as CG manages to stay ahead of Steph there. Little piece moving up past Crazy Legs. Crazy Legs on the medium tyres, of course. We'll have a look on board with Steph as though we're coming into a plume of smoke from those tyres. And Steph has the inside line here as they head through turn number 7. As we'll see now, can he keep the line clean? Yes, he can, and Steph moves up into 8th place. Meanwhile then, Weed Nation getting up ahead of Little Piece up into 14th place. Steph then still trying to hold off of CG. He loses the back end very slightly. That's going to invite CG back down the inside. Is he going to try and make the move? He tries it, but Steph locks up from the pressure from CG, and he's going to get a good line coming out of turn number 12. CG here is going to get a good line onto the back straight here as Little Piece drops to the back of the field. We'll have a look at why that was in a bit. As the Gort here moving down. Useless is up into 11th place. We're going to stay on board with Steph here right now, and we'll see what happens. Meanwhile though, Sao Paulo trying to go down the inside of Mays. They make slight contact, but I think Sao Paulo's got the move done, and he has. Up into 5th place he goes. Good qualifying from him earlier on today. And he moves up into 5th place past Mays in that Mercedes. Meanwhile then, you've still got the group there behind them. DRS is enabled from race control. CG then still trying to have a look, and we see now, is that further back? I think that is Crazy Legs. Yes, it is. As Crazy Legs and the Gort there making slight contact, and the Gort rather pushed off the track, I think. That's what I saw from the camera, but can't be too sure as Crazy forces his way through and gets up into 12th place, starting from the back of the grid. He needs to make progress, and quickly. As we'll have a look on board with Mays here, still trying to put Sao Paulo under pressure. Meanwhile, Blizzard and Spike trying to go side by side through turn 7, and Blizzard there realises that's not a great decision. Spike running slightly wide, going through turn 8, very easy to do, as try and get the entry into turn 9 absolutely right as well. Light still in 2nd there, holding off Spike and Blizzard. Of course, Spike being an ex-world champion, and now Blizzard is trying to move down the inside, and it's a really sparkling debut from this guy in the Williams. He's had a good run so far, and he's being really feisty here, the number 4 Williams, as we head now down the back straight, as Spike looking to try and defend now, as Blizzard here in the slipstream of Spike. Can he get the move done? As we'll now go down the inside, will he, into turn number 14, as he's down the inside now. Can the Williams get the move done? As he's got the inside line, but Spike opts for the wider line, but no, Blizzard up into 3rd place now. We see CG side by side with Steph there as we head into turn 16. Now down the main straight. As we see there a Ferrari, I believe that was the Gort heading into the pit lane already on lap 4. And it was, as CG here still on the outside of Steph. Meanwhile then Sao Paulo still on the back of Spike here. He's caught up to the back of him, having got away from Mays, but he's lost the back end, lost it again, and just about keeps the car in check. Very scary moment for Sao Paulo there. Lucky for him, didn't end his race. He's only lost 2 positions there, but he'd rather that than losing a front wing altogether. He's just got to work hard to get those positions back. Meanwhile, we've got the Renault there of Steph losing the back end as well, and that's an easy position for both CG and Raikkonen to get through. And Raikkonen on those medium tyres heading up into 9th place now. We've got the Sauber of Useless here, as he's trying to get past as well, and Steph has ghosted. So has he lost? Is he in the pause menu? Well, either way, it's going to be an easy position now for Crazy as he moves up into 11th place and hoping to make those medium tyres run as long as he can. Locking them up like that isn't going to help whatsoever. Spike then, meanwhile, on the back of Blizzard, trying to get that position up. Meanwhile, Mays is under threat from Geordie and Sao Paulo, who had Mays' position on this same lap. But anything can happen in Formula 1, and it normally does. Are we going to see for a move from Sao Paulo? Maybe we are, as Geordie moves across the line just to compromise Sao Paulo's line just very slightly, and it's enough to keep him behind for now, as we'll see Mays here head through, followed by Geordie and Sao Paulo. Meanwhile then, we've got the gap behind them, this fight behind as well. Raikkonen on the back of CG, only 5/10 back, and the other guys behind him aren't too far behind either, as we'll have a look on those as well. Meanwhile then, Spike on the back of Blizzard, he wants that position back, he wants that podium place back as well, maybe early on in the race, but Darren Sinclair's not pulling out the gap we're used to see him pulling out anyway. Here then, Sao Paulo only 2/10 behind Geordie. Is he going to try and move? Geordie locks up, and that costs, I believe, Sao Paulo a little bit of front wing there, as is that the right-hand side? That could be a little bit of carbon fibre flying off there, and that's going to compromise Sao Paulo's downforce, especially through 7 and 8. He's going to find a real lack of grip out there, and you can see him trying to turn the steering wheel as much as he can, and that may result in an early pit stop for Sao Paulo, as Geordie loses that back end once again, but he's now getting a lead up of Sao Paulo. Raikkonen then on the back of CG as a car locks up going into turn number 11. Raikkonen here on the medium tyres, like I said before, can pull out an amazing drive when he needs to, and he needs to pull out an amazing drive today on those medium tyres. CG ahead of him is 2 compounds softer, but he's managing to maintain the gap, as we see now a fight between Light and Blizzard here, as Blizzard, has he managed to find his way past? Yes, he has, and Light then moves down into 2nd place. Great move from Blizzard there as he moves into the hairpin and now is trying to chase down Darren Sinclair. Meanwhile then, I believe that was Sao Paulo heading into the pits. Yep, that front wing is too damaged. He can't keep going with that. As we see then Light moving down to 3rd place. Meanwhile, Raikkonen as well, he was following someone, but they've gone into the pits now. Meanwhile then, Raikkonen under pressure from Useless here. Here's Spike as well, as I'm trying to keep up on top of all the battle. Spike at the back of this train here for 2nd place. Mays is trying to chase down Geordie, that's for 5th place. Useless trying to chase down Raikkonen, but Crazy's joined the battle. He's in 9th place right now. And further back then, we've got Weed Nation trying to close in on Steph as well on those soft tyres. He had to pit very early on due to first lap damage. Light then is falling away, but we see Spike there losing that back end. Very dicey driving here from Spike to try and close the gap on Light as much as he can. And Sao Paulo may have had to make an early stop here, but his teammate Light is pulling out all the stops to try and stay ahead. He may have lost the position to Blizzard, but he's not going to give up this position to Spike that easily at all. Meanwhile then, Useless on the back of Raikkonen. He's on the soft tyres. This could be a chance then for him to get past Raikkonen here. Into the slipstream he goes. DRS wide open. Can Raikkonen defend anymore from Eustace. Eustace goes down the inside, and can he get this move done? Going into turn 14, they're side by side as they exit the corner into 15. They make slight contact as now they're heading into turn 16 now, but Raikkonen stays ahead, and Eustace tries to take a wider line, get a better apex down the main straight here. You can see that's a great camera angle to see them both heading into the DRS straight now into turn 1, and then Eustace tries to switch to the inside. Raikkonen runs wide, and Raikkonen runs off the track, and that could open up a gap for Crazy Legs here. And it has it? Yes, it has. And Raikkonen's lost 2 positions in 1 corner. Crazy's ever the opportunist, and moves up into 8th place on those medium tyres. Now trying to chase down Eustace now as Raikkonen loses out big time there. He drops to 9th place. Raikkonen then trying to go down the inside and just about stops the car before he clatters into Crazy there, as it's good driving from those 3 drivers, as Raikkonen the biggest loser out of this battle. So we see then Spike run very wide coming out of turn number 10. That is not going to help his exit at all, and his challenge to try and close down on Light here. But we'll have a look at Crazy Legs here, trying to close in on Useless as well. We've also got the battle between Geordie and Mays. Geordie picked up a time penalty, if you saw earlier on in the race, so we're now having a look and seeing if Mays can close the gap any more to him. Be interesting to see when the leaders decide to pit and get rid of these super soft tyres. Darren Sinclair still leads the way though. It's Blizzard in 2nd, it's Light in 3rd, Spike is in 4th place, Geordie is 5th, Mays is in 6th. There's Crazy Legs there, moves up into 7th place. Now has he got the move done? Yes, he has. Going into turn number 14 there, he's got the move absolutely spot on there. As Eustace drops a position, he drops to 8th place, which we see Steph there losing the back end once again coming out of turn 16. Just be careful not to do a Giovinazzi of 2017. Here we see then Eustace trying to find a way back past Crazy, but you're going to try and get past the double TTL champion here, as that's not going to be an easy thing to do. CG sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:36.5, as we'll see here Mays right on board with him with his battle with Geordie here. We'll see what comes of that. Eustace then as well on the back of Crazy. Crazy not getting away as quickly as he'd like, but he is on a harder compound, so it's easy to see why. But going through this S section here, it's quite clear. You see Crazy's got the better aero because he's able to turn the car in much better than anyone else. Mays then, his teammate, is up ahead, and I wonder if there's going to be any team orders between these two. I highly doubt it, it's being at round 2, but we may see it. It has happened before. And we see the flurry of cars trying to make their way through turns 11 and 12. Mays then onto the kilometre-long back straight. Does the DRS fly open? We'll have to see. Yes, it does. So he is within DRS range. As Mays here trying to close in on Geordie here. We can see the battle for 4th place as well up ahead. Sorry, for 3rd place up ahead, as Light trying to keep away from Spike as much as he can, and Spike being a TTL champion, you wouldn't rule him out of trying to get past Light. Light though has been very promising in these races so far, especially in qualifying. Darren Sinclair had to pull out a mega lap to even take pole position away from him, so Light's having a fantastic race here today. At the moment, Darren Sinclair there, you can see, leads the way, but Blizzard is closing in on him. Light is in 3rd, then Spike trying to see if he can try and find a way past maybe, as CG sets another fastest lap of the race. Spike then locking up right behind Light here as CG finds a way past Plaster. Missed that one. As we'll have a look, see here what Spike can do on the back of Light. And can he try and move down the inside? No, he doesn't. Light stays ahead for now then, but you can see his compromised lines here, and this could be a chance for Spike here to close in on him and try and close in on the DRS zone. As the top 4 here, as Spike trying to move down the inside, and no dice, but Light has lost the back end heading into turn number 12, and Spike here takes that position away from Light, and Spike will have DRS here, but as you can see, Light's not going to take that at all. He's going to go down the inside as Spike gets the DRS. Light is still side by side with him as they're heading towards turn 14, and Light here still down the inside. Can he hold on to that position? position. The two of them now go side by side on the exit of turn 15, and now they head towards turn 16 here, as Spike has to stay behind Light as they both dive into the pit lane, as their battle is going to continue, as the pit crews will have to do their best to get them ahead of each other, as we'll see now a load of positions change here. Crazy then up into 4th place, but as you can see, Raikkonen under pressuring Useless here. Useless trying to stay ahead in the Sauber, as Raikkonen will try and find a way past. Right on board with Raikkonen here. CG then trying to make a move on Alan Kay, as pit stops mean that he moves up into 10th place, and on those soft tyres he saw the gap there, wanted to go for it, but wasn't just not confident enough to try and get down the inside of Alan Kay there, especially the nature of the corner. You have to get it absolutely right. But here you can see CG here and Alan Kay here. Well, CG just had much better tyres, much better grip. And you can see how much that's affected him as he gets the move done and moves up into 9th place. Meanwhile, that's the battle with Useless and Raikkonen. We're going to ride on board with Crazy Legs, who started at the back of the grid and is trying to put pressure on Geordie here. On the medium tyres then, Crazy's got a good amount of pace on him, as he's only around about 7 seconds back from Darren Sinclair. He's showing monstrous pace right now. And onto the back straight here, and it looks like he's going to get the job done without DRS, is he? He goes side by side with him, DRS wide open now, and as you can see, Geordie's just got nothing to reply with, as the Mercedes moves ahead of Geordie, and Crazy Legs moves up into 3rd place. He locks up going into turn 14 though, and Geordie here has the opportunity to try and get past again, but Crazy gets the better traction eventually and moves up into the podium spots. Raikkonen then running wide, running very wide there, as he tries to close in on Useless. Geordie here then is still going to have a go on Crazy Legs as he runs wide going through turn 2. That's not the ideal thing to do. You just want to hold on to the car for as long as you can. Meanwhile then, Light is now on the back of Alan Kay, and can he get past at all? He'll try around the outside, will he? No, he won't, but as you saw there, a little bit of rain, the glitch there where the rain starts to come down. It all comes down at once and then stops, and that's the sure sign that rain is starting to fall. And so, does that mean Crazy Legs' medium stint may actually be, well, called into question here? Still side by side then are Light and Alan Kay. And Alan Kay, who wanted the one stop to work, it looks like then, as Steph is going, Spike going down the inside of Alan Kay, and you can see there how much more grip Spike had going through the S section. So do the people on medium tyres knew something we didn't? As still then, Darren Sinclair leading the way on the super soft tyres. Now begs the question, when do you pit? When do you pit for those tyres, for those intermediate tyres, if you need to pit at all? Lap 11 here, we've still got plenty of time to go and plenty of time for any spanners in the works here. As Spike here still on the back of CG here, I believe. Oh, sorry, Light it is. And you can see the rain is falling, and it's falling heavier than normal. So we might see the intermediate tyres sooner rather than later, as braking distances are going to be increased, as I think Spike found that out, as Geordie here is into the pits. He doesn't want to wait anymore. He might go onto a set of super softs to try and prolong this stint as long as he can on faster tyres, because once he pits on those super soft tyres, he's going to be much quicker. We're seeing the battle here between Darren Sinclair and Geordie here is the first man in on intermediates. Now that might be too early, they might burn up, but we'll see what happens with Geordie as he heads out onto the track here. So he is the first person on the intermediate tyres, and I think that's a little premature. There's not really any real spray at the moment. He might find that those tyres start overheating. As he'll head through the first section here, you can see how much slower he is already, and losing the back end there as well. Those tyres are not suited to these conditions at all. So the slick tyres are still the tyres to be on right now, as you might start to see the drivers starting to use the outsides of the track because of the way the track evolves. If it's rubbered in and there's water on the racing line, that starts to get slippery, greasy as well, and you start to find the outside of the circuit is working best. Meanwhile though, Blizzard has caught up to Darren Sinclair here, and this is the lead of the race then. as Blizzard goes down the inside of Darren Sinclair. Has he got the move done going into hairpin? And he has. Yes, he has. As Blizzard moves up into first place then, ahead of Darren Sinclair. But Blizzard comes into the pits. Now, is this his call to go on to intermediate tyres? He might have got over the radio that Geordie was heading into the pits for his set of intermediate tyres. Well, he is the first of the race leaders to come in for a new set of tyres. But is it for the intermediates? It is. You can see the green walls there. On go the set of tyres, and away he goes. I still think it's too early for intermediate tyres, but these guys are going to do their best to try and keep it on the track. We'll see. We might see then what happens with Blizzard. Has this race been decided here? Will this come to favour Blizzard at the end of the race? Meanwhile, though, Crazy and all of that has jumped ahead of Darren Sinclair on the medium tyres, so Sinclair's tyres are running out, and he'll be wanting this rain to get heavier sooner rather than later. As you can see here, Blizzard is just losing positions left, right and centre, as he's lost the position to Mays now. He now is in 12th place. There is spray from those tyres coming off, as you can see, but I don't think the rain's just as severe and the track's not ready for intermediate tyres yet. So we're going to have drivers here trying to make a decision based on what they can see and what they can feel out on track, as sometimes this game glitches out and the engineer just doesn't talk to you, so that information you just don't get. Meanwhile then, Eustace is now going down the inside of Darren Sinclair. Sinclair's tyres have worn off, they've gone off the cliff here, if that's even possible nowadays. Eustace now is up into second place, and Darren Sinclair is just trying to hold on to these tyres for as long as he can until the switchover onto intermediates. He knows if he pits for another set of slick tyres, he's going to lose even more time, so he's thinking the best thing to do is to stay on those tyres right now. As he comes into the pits, Eustace comes into the pits as well. Does Crazy Legs come into the pits? No, he doesn't. He stays out. So Eustace and Darren are reacting to Blizzard here, but is Blizzard starting to catch up to Mays? As you can see here, he isn't. So we'll have a look and see what happens here. Eustace is in. On go a set of intermediate tyres. We'll have a look at Darren Sinclair as well. He's on a set of intermediates as well, and Eustace gets ahead of him. So it's only the soft and medium runners now out there on circuit, as Weed Nation is trying to hold on to CG here. Spike on those medium tyres as well. And we'll start to see then, have a look at these guys on the intermediate tyres. Darren Sinclair and Useless did come in and jump Blizzard. And you can see Blizzard lost 6.6 seconds there, at least to Darren Sinclair, by pitting a lap earlier. But the track still looks good out there for now on those tyres. As you can see, the Gort there getting past Blizzard very easily. As I just think it just needs a couple more laps, as drivers really are starting to struggle out there, as Weed Nation has found out the hard way. Light and Spike getting past him. Your leader at the moment is Crazy Legs. Raikkonen is in second, Steph is in third, but a train is behind him. CG's in fourth, Spike in fifth, Light is in sixth, Weed Nation seventh. And we've got a bit of a gap there. Sao Paulo, he's in eighth. Mays is ninth, and the leader of the front row, the leader of the intermediate tyres, I should say, is Useless, but he's falling away from Mays at a rate of knots as well. 8.5 seconds separates him and Mays, as that goes up to 9 seconds, so it's still too early for the intermediate tyres. So Blizzard and Darren Sinclair, the two leaders of the championship right now, are struggling, and the Gort here may find himself trying to get past Darren Sinclair, as Darren Sinclair tries to go defensive there, but he just can't do it. He doesn't have the grip either to try and hang on and make that position, so the Gort moves up. Meanwhile then, Spike down the inside, which is very risky on a damp track, but he's got the grip there for now, and his teammate Steph now is his next target, as Spike wants to get up into third place. As you can see there, he takes that wider line on the medium tyres. He loses that back end very slightly, but Spike moves up into third place, as we'll see them go through turn 5, that slight kink, into turn number 6 now. Can they keep it clean, all of them? Yes, they can, and that means then Spike moves up into third place. Meanwhile then, Steph loses that back end, and CG looked, he smelt blood there, but he just couldn't quite get the move done, and we'll see here. Oh, and we see CG here trying to go down the inside, then becomes the outside, but that could favour you in these treacherous conditions right now. it's not really time to go onto the intermediates, but if you're on the slicks you have to be careful now, as CG now going down the inside of Steph, and we've got our first retirement. Geordie is out of the race, as there doesn't seem to be a problem. That looks like a disconnection to me. So our first retirement of the race is Geordie, and that's a disconnection, so that's very unfortunate for him. We see then still on board with Steph then, as what will we see here? That is Light down the inside of Steph, and has he got the move done? Looks like it for now as we head through turn 14, and Light here wants CG's position as well, as he's got better traction coming out of turn 14 through 15, and he's got that position as well. Light up into 4th place as he heads into the pits now, presumably for the intermediate tyres. So we'll have a look and see how that works out. So well, Light is in then. He's followed by Steph, and Weed Nation as well comes into the pits. So for Light then, he's on the intermediate tyres. Away he goes, as we shall see. Steph here also on the intermediate tyres. He has to wait for the Force India to go through, but he's now on the intermediate tyres, and we'll see now Light emerge from the pit lane. He's in 8th place right now on the intermediate tyres, as we're on to lap 16 right now, as we shall see what happens then. Darren Sinclair still behind Useless, but as you can see, they're not far behind Steph now, so maybe this is the changeover point. Light leads the way then on the intermediates, and the guys ahead will have to figure out and decide if now's the time. What will Crazy do then into turn 12? It looks very treacherous on those medium tyres, but he's made them work superbly right now, as Crazy heading down the straight then, the back straight, the kilometre-long back straight. DRS is still enabled, so race control still think it's dry enough to be using the DRS, because we do have people on the dry tyre. That's why, as we'll see here, Darren Sinclair still on the back of Useless here. Darren Sinclair running in 11th, but his exit out of 10 could have been much better, as he starts to drop back from Useless. No doubt he'll try and make that time up once again. Crazy though, on another lap, and he's still going out there, as we'll see what his lap times are starting to do. Now, we did see 136s and 137s as Sao Paulo gets ahead. So Raikkonen and now CG are into the pits. So Raikkonen got his 5-second stop-go penalty, as we see a soft tyre there just in mid-air, but a front wing change for Raikkonen, as he emerges from the garage apparently, as he makes his way back out onto track. CG then jumps him, he's up into 5th place, and where are the other runners? You can see the blue lights turn on there, and where are the other runners? He's emerged ahead, so CG's ahead. Raikkonen ahead of, just behind Light, but ahead of Darren Sinclair. So the later these guys have left it, the better. CG then emerges in 5th place right now, as Mays currently runs in 4th, Sao Paulo in 3rd, Spikes in 2nd, but the leader at the moment is Crazy Legs, who opted for another lap. Now, I wonder what that's going to be, that will mean towards the end of the race then. Raikkonen behind Light here, as Darren Sinclair finds himself in 8th place, Useless in 9th, but he runs deep going into turn number 6. The exit there, he's under threat from Steph now, as Steph looking to try and get past Useless any way he can. Meanwhile, Alan Kay on the medium tyres still, as this will be a sure sign. What will happen? It looks like that both tyres, the inters and the mediums, have got the same amount of grip right now. As you can see here, Alan Kay still got the grip to keep up with the Gort here, but Crazy Legs is into the pits. He feels it's now time for the intermediate tyres, as we'll still ride on board with Alan Kay, who is still out there on the medium tyres and still able to keep up with the Gort. So although the track's greasy, medium tyres still seem to be a good tyre to be on. So we'll see here, Crazy into the pits. He leaves now on the intermediate tyres, and does he rejoin in front of CG? Where is CG? Just emerging from turn 14. DRS is now disabled. It's now time for the intermediate tyre. So Crazy's timed that absolutely perfectly. He rejoins and will rejoin in 4th place. So then How will that affect Spike and Sao Paulo and Mays as we head into a zone now where the intermediates now are the better tyre according to the game, as Raikkonen's still behind Light here, as we'll look now into the latter stages of this race. Meanwhile then, Plaster, Alan Kay and Weed Nation, who is 17 seconds back, did not pit this time. They still think the mediums have the pace here to keep them out there. But Alan Kay is starting to fall away from the Gort, as we've got yellow flags in Sector 3 now. I wonder who that could be. It doesn't seem to be any of the leaders, but whoever it was, they've moved on now, as CG here is in 5th place. So Crazy on the intermediates is the leading pack there. So what happens here with Spike then? Does he go into the pit lane? Raikkonen on the back of Light here as we head through turns 9 and then through 10. Try and get the traction right, and the dry is difficult enough, let alone these treacherous damp conditions. As Spike then heading around turn 16, he goes around for another lap. So is Spike here going to try and go towards the end of the race? That's going to be a huge call if it is. As we start lap 19, as correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's now 10 laps to go. So Mays is now into the pits. So 10 laps left in this race, and it's all do or die right now. The later people leave it, the more likely they are to just stay on the medium tyres till the end of the race. So real split strategy here, as we see Raikkonen still on the back of Light. He doesn't find a way past, and you can see here Mays now. Where will he emerge in this battling? Where will he emerge in the intermediate runners? He's 7th right now. Can we try and get a view here? Yes, we can, of Darren Sinclair, who rejoins behind Mays. So although all that time on the medium tyres has helped Mays hugely, Darren Sinclair is one of the biggest losers, but the biggest loser of all was Blizzard, who took the lead of the race from Darren Sinclair, finds himself in 10th place right now, and he might struggle towards the end because those tyres might be blistered because of how early he decided to pit. It's all go here in terms of strategy, so you've really got to have just that quick reaction to just try and decide what you need to do. It's always very, very difficult. These guys make it look easy, but it's really not. As Steph here, currently in 12th, the Gort in 11th. As Steph loses that back end once again, finding it difficult out there, clearly set up for the dry. Meanwhile then, Raikkonen still on the back of Light. He will be trying to close the gap. Have a look at the gap between Crazy and Sao Paulo, because it looks like Spike and Sao Paulo are going to try and stay out here for as long as possible. Does Spike head into the pits? Yes, he does. He's finally had enough of those medium tyres. As does Sao Paulo do the same, I wonder? Does he react to Spike here? No, he keeps going. Sao Paulo thinking it's dry still, or at least dry enough to keep running these medium tyres, so he will take the lead of the race. So Spike then, into the pits he comes. The decision now with 9 laps to go is, do you stay on an intermediate, or do you stay on the medium tyres, sorry, or do you pit in for the intermediates? Crazy moves up into 2nd as Spike rejoins the track. He should rejoin in 3rd place, and he does. CG there, not quite close enough to Spike, so Spike on those fresh intermediates can start to try and side his way through towards Crazy Legs. Of course, the drivers will see the gaps starting to fall as Blizzard moves his way past Mays there. We've got yellow flags in Sector 3, and that's Steph. Steph has lost the back end, and into the wall he goes. And I'm trying to see, has he done a Giovinazzi? He might have done. Yes, he has. So he's lost the back end, maybe on the curb on the right-hand side, coming out of turn 16, which is always a difficult one to manoeuvre. He's gone into the wall there, and out he goes. Steph not finishing this one. By the way, Sao Paulo's gap, which was about 7.8 beginning this lap, it's now down to 5.9. So the tyre now is the intermediate tyre with 9 laps to go. Crazy still leading the way. Spike is in, Crazy will be leading the way because Sao Paulo will be pitting on this lap. Surely he can't keep running those tyres. He's losing so much time on them. And the crossover, I'm afraid he just has not got it right. He's tried to stay out there for as long as he can to keep those intermediates fresh for when he needed them. But he might have cost himself a lot of time by doing that. He's especially into this last stint. We'll only have around about 8 laps on a set of intermediates to try and side his way through the field, and you could see out of turn 15 there, losing that back end more often than not. But brave as he is, he's going to try and keep his foot out there and keep his way through. We'll see now Eustace on Mays here. Eustace clearly got the the lower downforce here, much less drag as he gets his way past Mays into turn 14, before turn 14 even. Raikkonen then is still on the back of Light then. So Raikkonen clearly, well, we've got a Williams there of, I believe that was Blizzard. Yes, it was. Is that Blizzard coming in for a new set of intermediates? I think it is. I think because he pitted so early, those intermediates might have burned out early on, and he has to pit in because of the blisters on the tyre. He does come in for another set of intermediate tyres, and the Williams guys, well, they got the decision wrong. Simply put, they were way too early, and they're paying the price with another stop they have to make. Crazy then, round the outside, going through turn number 8, which becomes the inside for turn 9, and as brave as Sao Paulo is going to be, he drops down to second, and Crazy Legs takes the lead of the race. Sao Paulo's going to stick out there though. His next person to defend from is Spike, and with how everyone's spread out, if the rain falls as it's keeping now, Sao Paulo might still be able to get a decent position without coming into the pits. But we'll have to wait and see, obviously, with 8 laps to go. Well, 7 and a lot laps to go right now, as Sao Paulo coming down the straight. You can see Spike closing quite significantly. Raikkonen then still on the back of Light and just still can't find a way past, so he's staying behind him for now, as we'll see what happens with those two. Meanwhile then, Mays coming around turn number 12. The long right-hander is always difficult to negotiate in the dry, let alone the wet, and Raikkonen here is going to try and move down the inside as he make contact between Light and Raikkonen, but Raikkonen just can't find a way past as Alan Kay moves down the field on those medium tyres. Raikkonen had his best opportunity to get past Light of the race, and no, he can't quite do it just yet. That's the battle for 5th place, and you can tell Raikkonen's not going to give up that fight very easily. Spike is now catching up to Sao Paulo, and around the outside, going through turn number 6, I believe. Sorry, turn number 3 and 4. So Spike is now passed, and Sao Paulo drops to 3rd, as we've got 7 laps to go. Sao Paulo then still struggling out there, but still, credit to him, he's going to try and make it to the end on those tyres. So I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but credit to him, he's going to give it a good old go. As we'll see here, the battle between Light and Raikkonen here still going on, and now we've got the Gort closing in on Mays. The Gort then trying to score Ferrari's first points of the season, as we see the pit board on his steering wheel light up. I'm not sure if that's strictly true and means anything. I don't think it does, because of the way the game works. It really doesn't really like to work after the first pit window in terms of strategy and steering wheels, but in any case, the Gort is closing on Mays, and they're both closing on Useless as well. But the Gort then still on the back of Mays. We'll head on to the kilometre-long back straight. We'll have a look at Raikkonen as well. Has he got a decent exit though? He's at 7/10 and falling back. So we'll have a look at the Gort then on Mays, and he's now down the inside. Mays must have made a mistake coming out of turn 12, and the Gort then moves up into 9th place as he looks to try and score Ferrari's first points of the season. He is up into 9th place now, and we'll have a look and see if there are any close battles going on. Raikkonen then still trying to chase down Light. He's been behind him a long time now, and you get more and more frustrated the more and more you see of the rear wing of the car in front. Mays though is not trying to let Gort get away that easily, as we'll see. We'll ride back on board with Sao Paulo, who is the driver to watch right now. He's trying to make it to the end on those medium tyres, and he's doing his utmost best as he possibly can. as we'll see Sao Paulo here still trying to defend from CG on those tyres. It seems futile to do it. He loses the back end and CG has to be very careful there, but he goes down the inside and he's just got that superior grip there, and Sao Paulo can't really defend against it. CG moves up into third place. Next car is Light and Raikkonen. Now that could throw a spanner into the works for those two. Darren Sinclair is, well, look at this, he's falling away on pace because Eustace is catching him, and Darren Sinclair did pit early as well, as early as Light as well. So is this a signal for Light that his tyres may fall away, as Darren seems to be doing right now as Little Piece comes into the pits? So, oh, this is going to be interesting then. Will Darren Sinclair stay in the points for the second race of the season, as well, it looks like here Eustace might try and find a way past Darren Sinclair as we head around the long right-hander of turn 12. This is what happens when you pit too early on those intermediate tyres on the changeover period. But we might see here Eustace have a go at Darren Sinclair. He's certainly got the move open. Does he try it? No, he doesn't. Darren Sinclair defends the inside line, and now Eustace will try and use the outside line, use that curb to his advantage. And well, Darren Sinclair defending well at the moment. Little Piece goes on to a set of super soft tyres. That's an interesting call. I'm not sure what that's about, as the Gort slides his way through turn number 16. Not the ideal way to do it, I don't think. That's going to help tyre wear, but there we go, as Darren Sinclair still trying to defend his line, and now Eustace sees the gap going into turn number 3. And will he have the move done? Darren Sinclair has the inside line for turn number 4. Sorry, turn 3 it's called, and then through turn 4. As Darren Sinclair emerges ahead right now, and DRS has been enabled again. Well, okay, so Sao Paulo, this might come back into his hands right now. He might have seen this better than anybody else. The rain has stopped, and DRS has been enabled again. Are dry tyres the way to go now? As we'll see now, everybody else is going to stay on the intermediate tyres. Sao Paulo here has come back into the running, as he's now closing back on CG again. Well, I never predicted this. We say a lot of things happen as the Gort moves ahead and Darren Sinclair's run off the road. I don't know if that was him losing the car or contact, but Darren Sinclair's in the wall and he's lost his front wing. Has he lost his front wing? I saw debris as he goes off the track, and has he lost front wing? I'm not entirely sure, as Sao Paulo meanwhile has got past CG, and now this could go back into his favour. Crazy Legs jumps into the pits. He's going to go onto a set of super soft surely. Spike does exactly the same, and Sao Paulo just needs to try and run away with this now with 4 laps to go. He just needs to try and run away with it on medium tyres. You can still see the debris from Steph when he went into the wall. So Sao Paulo's going to drive his life now as Spike heads in. Crazy then is going to head out on a set of super soft tyres. As you can see, all of the runners at the top just pitting in and getting onto a set of super softs. Sao Paulo then has to, well, he has to have the 4 laps of his life here as he slides through turn 4. He's got to make sure that those tyres last him to the end of the race, but guys behind, Blizzard, the championship leader, is out of the race. He overshot the pit lane. He's overshot the pit lane, goes straight into the wall, must have just locked up the brakes, and he's out of the race. The championship leader is out. Sao Paulo then, still trying to keep the car on the road, and I wonder what's going to happen now with Crazy. The Gort then still opting to go onto the intermediate tyres. CG's closing in on him, as Light as well, opting for the soft tyres. Maybe he didn't have any super soft tyres left coming into this race. Darren Sinclair then still in 9th place as he goes on to a set of super soft tyres, and pretty dismal day for Darren Sinclair, that's for sure. But it's not over yet. Anything can happen as CG here going down the inside of the Gort, and once again, not for the first time this race, he overtakes the car for 3rd place. Sao Paulo then still in the lead of the race as he heads down the back straight, and he's doing a great job of keeping the gap between himself and Crazy Legs, as it's currently stabilised at around 9 seconds right now. He's doing a fantastic job as he heads through the yellow flag zone in sector 3. That's where Blizzard went into the wall there, locking up as he goes through into the pit lane. Sao Paulo then with 3 laps to go, and he'll just be hoping that Crazy doesn't catch him. This is where, though, the longer they're on this stint, the more likely Crazy's going to get the tyre temperatures up, the more likely he's going to get more grip on the track, and the more likely he is to close the gap. All Sao Paulo can do is drive as hard as he possibly can, because with these slick tyres, there's not much difference between them if the track is greasy. Once it starts to dry out, that's when the performance comes in. Crazy then is closing now, and as you can see, the track's getting drier. He's closing fast as well. 8.1 between himself and Sao Paulo with 3 laps to go. He's got to close the gap by a good 2 seconds per lap, maybe even more than that, 2.5 seconds it looks like. But he's going to try and do it. Crazy then. This race is not over, not by a long shot. Sao Paulo must have seen ahead in the weather forecast better than anybody else. And a shout out to Alan Kay as well, who must have seen that as well. He stayed out in the entire intermediate stint on the medium tyres, currently finds himself in 11th place. But Sao Paulo here could be finding a race win out of absolutely nowhere by reading the forecast and predicting and taking a risk on there not being any rain towards the end of the race. Well, he's making this job harder and harder for Crazy as the laps go by. In that current state, Crazy has to close the gap by more than 3.5 seconds a lap just to catch Sao Paulo. So all Sao Paulo has to do with 2 laps to go is just keep it on the track. As you can see, Crazy there's in the same shot, but 7 seconds back for Crazy. It's surely not doable unless Sao Paulo makes a mistake. He's just got to keep it on the track now. Just try and limp home and hope he can make it. Meanwhile then, battle for 13th place as we're seeing Weed Nation trying to close in on Little Piece. The Gort here is on the back of Useless Cat. Useless is a cat, sorry, his full name, as Darren Sinclair falling to 9th place in this race at the moment, as the Gort here still trying to close in on Useless here, as Weed Nation picks up a 3-second time penalty. Now what this means is that yellow flag is probably going to stay out till the end of the race. So what that means is, even if Crazy closes in on him, on Sao Paulo in the end of the race, he needs to do it before turn 16 to get the move done. If he doesn't, then he has to stay behind Sao Paulo towards the line, because the green flag doesn't come out until the start-finish line. So the odds are in Sao Paulo's favour right now. As the Gort here, we're going to ride on board with him because he's closing in on Useless here. This is the battle for 7th place right now, and we'll see here, can the Gort make anything of this? Useless still trying to defend as hard as he possibly can, and well, it's been an entertaining race to say the least, and it's been fantastic driving from all of the drivers here. That spat with Darren Sinclair may not have worked out the best for him, and we'll have to see what happens afterwards. Alan Kay is up into 10th place as Darren Sinclair moves down to 11th place. And what happened there, I wonder? As you can see there, Darren Sinclair's lost a bit of front wing, so it goes from bad to worse, as the top 2 drivers in the championship right now, they look like they're not going to score any points at all. As we see now, Useless trying to defend from the Gort as much as he can. The Gort loses the back end slightly, but he does have DRS. Useless trying to just break the slipstream as much as he can. The Gort, though, has the slipstream. He has DRS. Can he find a way past Useless? Useless trying to defend for his life at any point. Moves across to try and cut off the inside line, but that's going to open up the Gort here to try and take a better line going through turn 15. Now coming up to turn 16, you can see there the Gort already trying to take a wider line, a better apex out of the corner. And you can see that's where the green flag is, right before the start-finish line. So it's going to be do or die for Crazy. He's got to find 5 seconds, and I just don't think it's going to be done, because Sao Paulo is already into the 3rd sector now. Well, I could never have told you this could have happened. Sao Paulo leading the way, as we see here the Gort still trying to find a way past Desperation on the last lap of the race, as we're going to see here Useless try and hold him off as much as we can. We're going to ride on board with Sao Paulo, who predicted the weather better than anyone else could here, He's kept the car on the road. He kept the car on the road through that intermediate period on medium tyres and took the risk, and it's really paid off by some amount. As you can see here, Sao Paulo for Force India comes round the final corner, and against all odds, Sao Paulo wins round 2 of TTL. Crazy Legs comes across the line. He takes second place as he bins it into the wall in celebration. Spike here comes across the line to take third place, and CG will come across the line in fourth, on track at least. And well, Spike moves up to yeah, that's right, so that's that then. Light comes across the line in 5th place. Raikkonen behind him will come across in 6th. Now the battle for 7th is really heating up. Now the Gort tried a lunge, but it didn't work. And now we're coming up to the yellow flag set. Well, the yellow flags have cleared now, so all moves are possible now, but Eustace, I think, is just about going to hold on. He'll take the track position, and the Gort has to settle for 8th place. Mays in the background comes home in 9th. Alan Kay here, who also made the same decision as Sao Paulo to stay out on the medium tyres in really greasy conditions, has paid off here, because Alan Kay is going to pick up the last point of this race. Alan Kay then comes home in 10th place. A fantastic drive from him. Plaster in 11th place. He'll come across the line as he just misses out on any points. Darren Sinclair, it went from bad to worse from him, as he'll want to forget this weekend, and he'll come home in 12th place. Weed Nation finishes in 13th and Little Piece in 14th. The race winner today, though, is Sao Paulo. Round 2 of China goes to him. Well, it's his first win, I believe, this season anyway. I can't say for career because I haven't been around that long. But what a race it's been, and what a well-deserved win for Sao Paulo. Well, sometimes you'll get drives that are just absolutely spectacular, and Sao Paulo and Crazy can be very proud of their drives today. Spike comes home in 3rd place, CG there in 4th, Light is in 5th, Raikkonen takes 6th, Useless just about held off the Gort there to take 7th place, with the Gort finishing in 8th. Mays finishes in 9th, and the last of the points goes to Alan Kay in 10th place. Then we have Plaster, Darren Sinclair, a race to forget for him, with Weed Nation in 13th and Little Piece finishing in 14th. 3 retirements this session. We had Blizzard, Steph and Geordie all retiring from the race. Geordie with a disconnection, Steph and Blizzard due to crash damage. But if that's a round I was here for, I'm very glad I showed up for it. Absolutely fantastic racing from everybody out there. Round 3 is Bahrain. I believe it is Bahrain. I think it is, yes. And we'll hopefully see you there as well. But what a race here. What a well-deserved win for Sao Paulo. And until next time, I've been Kieran McGinley. You've been watching. Until Bahrain, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.